respects. And I ran across this quote from Dr. King that I'd like to share. It's fitting in many ways. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward.
You want me to sit over on your side?
No doubt these past 2 years have certainly been challenging, and that's carried over into collegiate athletics in several different ways. I'd like to compliment all of our award winners. Whatever you do, I'd like to compliment all of our award winners for carrying on and finding ways not only to persevere, but also to find great success. With that, I'd like to introduce our namesake for the first year Coach of the Year award, Steve Spurrier. Coach Spurrier is one of only 4 men in the College Football Hall of Fame for his exploits as a player and a coach. Not only was Coach Spurrier a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback at Florida, but he went on to great coaching success at most every stop. The head ball coach is known best in the collegiate ranks for turning around the Duke Blue Devils, the Florida Gators, and the South Carolina Gamecocks. Spurrier was named the ACC's Coach of the Year twice in his 3 years at Duke, leading the Blue Devils to the league title in 1989. Spurrier was a 5-time SEC Coach of the Year and 6-time SEC champion at Florida, including the 1996 season when he led the Gators to the national championship. Spurrier won SEC Coach of the Year honors twice more at South Carolina in 2005 and 2010. And prior to last Monday night's national championship game, he was the last SEC East Division coach to beat Nick Saban at Alabama. Coach Spurrier, we appreciate you. The Zoom floor is all yours to share your wit and words of wisdom. Steve Spurrier.
Thank you, Mike. And to repeat, it is Martin Luther King Day today. And I still remember when I was in South Carolina, I went to that breakfast every year I was there. John Lewis, Congressman from Atlanta, spoke. Dr. Andrew Young was there several times. Of course, Senator Jim Clyburn was there just about at every breakfast. And while I was coaching at South Carolina, I hope I played a small part in removing the Confederate flag off the Capitol. Governor Nikki Haley did that while I was coaching there, and I think it was something we needed to do for a long time. But anyway, thanks again, Mike, for putting my name on the Coach of the Year first year to school. I always believe a coach doesn't need 4 or 5 years to get his players in there, to build his system and build it up and all this, that, and the other. There's a lot of excuse words a lot of coaches used to use. But all of our candidates, Shane Beamer, Josh Heupel, and Gus Malzahn, they didn't use any excuse words. And they weren't predicted before the season started to have much of a team. I think South Carolina was picked like 13 out of 14, and Tennessee was 12. They were energized the fan base and did an excellent job with what they had to work with. And they made no excuses the whole year. And I think that's a big reason their players played with a great attitude and effort the entire season. All right, back to you, Mike. Back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that. Michael, do we have Ryan McGee? I know Ryan was trying to get signed on tonight. He had some ice issues in North Carolina. Did Ryan make it in here? Not yet. Let's, you know what? Let's go ahead and take a few questions for Coach Spurrier. If anybody has any questions, raise your hand. And Coach, if you could, excuse me, Coach, if you could turn down your volume, I think you were getting some background when you were speaking there. If we could get any questions, is Jack Leo, do you have a question?
Sure. Hey, Coach, how you doing tonight?
Okay, Jack.
Good to hear. So I'm just kind of curious about your thoughts on the new NIL deals, kind of this new age of college football with the NIL. What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that is what it is. I'm sort of glad I don't have to worry about it. The coaches nowadays, obviously their staffs are getting way, way larger than what we used back in the 90s and 2000s. And you have to. You have to have people monitoring the portal as well as recruiting, and it's a full-time job. So I'm sort of glad I don't have to worry about all that. but it's a part of the game. And if you're going to be successful in college football, you got to manage it and do well in the NIL part of it, as well as the portal part of it. Full-time job. So I'm sort of glad I don't have to worry.
Any other questions? I don't see any other hands up. Don't see any other hands up right now. Let's move forward with the program. Let's go ahead and introduce Ryan McGee. Ryan will talk a little bit about Coach Heupel. Of course, Ryan, a co-host of Marty and McGee, also an author, ESPN reporter. And Ryan, take it away.
Thank you, Mike. And the other part of the resume is that I am, full disclosure, a Tennessee alum, which means that on a college football Saturday, I have two jobs. The first is to cover college football and answer all the texts and emails and phone calls that come with that. The second part of that job is the fact that I'm married to a girl from Farragut and went to UT, and I have to answer all the phone calls and emails and texts about what Tennessee did that day, whether I was covering that game or not. And that's a pretty good measuring stick of how things are going in Knoxville. And that's how I knew that things in Knoxville were going pretty well in the fall of 2021, just based on everyone's attitude and how everybody felt about the football program. And that attitude and those good feelings began and ended with the first year hiring of Josh Heupel. It was a 7-6 year. But I think that when you are in the process of trying to build something for the future, which Tennessee's been in that position for a while now, I think the most important thing is, even while you're building on Saturday night and on Sunday, and see Josh Heupel. Congratulations.
It's an honor to receive this award named after Coach Steve Spurrier. The head ball coach has done it at an unbelievably high level for such a long time. Hall of Famer as a player and as a coach. And I think the unique thing for me being in this conference is him have a true understanding of what it takes to compete at the highest level in this conference. So it's one of the highest honors for me as a coach. I want to thank the Football Writers Association of America and absolutely everything that they do to promote our game. They're great conduits of the game of football, and thank them so much for that. Chris Doring, what he does as an ambassador for the game of college football and what he's done with this award, appreciate his involvement. I want to congratulate Shane Beamer on the season that he and South Carolina had this year. And most of all, any individual honor is really a recognition of everything that's going on inside of our program and the people that are in place there at Tennessee, from our on-field assistant coaches to the young coaches that we have in the building, to our support staff, and most importantly, our players. Over the last 12 months, the growth inside of our program of who we are, how we conduct ourselves, and how we interact and are connected with each other every single day is the reason that we were able to have a successful season in year one. And as good as it was, we are so excited about the future of Tennessee football. That's because of the people and the young men that we have inside of the building. The best is truly yet to come. So excited about the leadership that we have in our program at the presidential, chancellor, and athletic director levels, and the leadership that we have inside of our program. So excited about the future of Tennessee. Go Big Orange.
With that, we will take a few questions for Coach Heupel. If you want, enter into the chat or hit the raise your hand function. We'll start with Jimmy Himes, then we'll go to Trey Wallace.
Hey, Josh, when you went to Central Florida, you inherited a team that was undefeated. You go to Tennessee, and it wasn't quite the same. Talk about the challenge of Tennessee and rebuilding that job versus when you took over at Central Florida.
Yeah, I think the challenge were two completely different things as far as the program and what they had experienced the season before. Every time you take over a new program, there's going to be a different challenge. And that's just, where you're at, where you're recruiting, who's inside of the building, and what are the challenges or successes that they've had the previous year. And coming to Tennessee, obviously there was a lot of outside noise. we were able to quiet the storm, quiet the chatter. Our kids bought in immediately into what we're doing. They understood that the connection and accountability were going to be extremely important in the success that we were going to have. We never placed a ceiling in what our players inside of the program could do. We believed that there were great players inside of it. They bought into it and they worked extremely hard. And as well as we played at times last year, we were disappointed when the outcome wasn't what we wanted because we knew we had enough to go win on those days. Excited about the future, what we've been able to do in year one, but what we're able to build upon here as we get started in year two when our kids get back to campus next Monday.
Trey Wallace.
Hey, Josh, congratulations. You kind of talked about it right there from Jimmy's question, but just going back and taking that job, we're coming up on a kind of a week from the anniversary of you taking the job at Tennessee. When you walked into this position, there were a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and especially with the players. Can you talk about that just for a little bit, how you came in, tried to set forth what you were about to try to win the players over, which I think amounted to the success that you guys had this season?
Yeah, there was a lot of outside noise and in some ways uncertainty. A good amount of young men had entered into the transfer portal and had gone somewhere else. As an outsider that had watched Tennessee, my dad being a longtime coach, growing up in the game, but then being a competitor inside of the league at a previous stop and having an opportunity to truly see what Neyland Stadium was like and what game day environment was like, what the Vol Navy looked like outside of the stadium, the passion and pageantry that is Tennessee football. I just believed in the future and what was there, and believed in that if you get the right alignment and administration are able to hire great people, you can go accomplish and gain ground every single day and accomplish great things. Our players bought in, and some of that happened over time. Some of it happened, after our first meeting. I knew that they wanted a different culture. They were high-level competitors that came to Tennessee to play and win in the big football games. That was a very prideful group that was sitting inside of that team room, and they were willing to accept some change, to be truthful and honest and transparent in the communication. That's why we were able to grow so quickly.
David Pascal.
Josh, so much went right and you had some limitations as far as a roster standpoint. I'll ask you a golfing question because I know your daughter loves it and Spurrier loves it. If you could have a mulligan about this year, what would your one mulligan be that you'd love to do over?
I'd take any of the losses and replay them. I'd like to have the overtime back against. But at the same time, that doesn't define where we're going. So excited about the future of what we have and who's coming into the building, and really the passion that our players have for one another and continuing to compete and get better. High expectations from inside of the locker room. We got great expectations outside of the building as well. Our fans are excited about the future.
Patrick Brown.
Josh, you said a few times during the season that there was no ceiling and no limitations on what they could do.
I think in each phase, each quarter of your offseason, from offseason conditioning, second phase, spring ball, third phase, summer workouts to training camp, there was a continued growth in the belief that, man, maybe we have a chance to be a really good football team. For some players, that belief probably started a little bit earlier than for others. For our coaching staff, I think as coaches, you're constantly looking at how you need to grow. We were able to add some players transfer portal after spring ball. We were the thinnest football team in America this year. Ultimately, I think we started the season with 71 scholarship players. And, that depth we felt like hurt us in the fourth quarter. But certainly as we got into training camp and our guys saw the consistency of how they were playing and competing and what we thought we were going to be able to do in all three phases of the game, I think there was a lot of growth in what we were doing in some confidence. And in some ways, a couple of the early season setbacks, losing a close ball game, but being able to go back and show them how we can change the outcome of a game with some small things that we control, I think got them to truly understand and buy into us having a really successful season.
Any other questions for Coach Heupel?
Yes.
Jimmy,
Okay.
back.
Josh, about a dozen years ago, there was a basketball coach at Tennessee that when he inherited the program, he said that the players were willing to listen to him because they wanted to win. Did you find some of that when you took over, that there were players that had not won, that were more willing to listen to you to show the direction of what it would take to win?
Yeah, I think, you might have asked the question, the difference in, the two programs that have taken over. Because of what had transpired the previous year, they were absolutely open to listening to what are the things that I think needed to change to give us the ability to be successful and to win football games. Very open to that. You had to constantly show them what that actually looks like as you implement it into your daily life, into your practice habits, into who we are ultimately on the game field.
One last question from Trey Wallace.
Hey, Josh, winning this award this year, you probably wouldn't be in this spot if you didn't have the buy-in from the seniors and the super seniors that stuck with your program and hung around. What can you say about them? A lot of them have played their last game at Tennessee, but from them buying in from the day one that you got there to where you are right now, what did that group mean to you?
Yeah, that super senior group, the guys that finished up, their ability to not pay attention to the outside noise, to be the calm in the storm, to rally the guys around them inside of the program, to represent everything that is good and what the word volunteer means. It's a group that I'll forever be indebted to. And really our program is too. As they help build the cornerstone pieces to our program as we grow forward and compete and win championships, those guys will always have a huge piece of that.
Mike, it's all yours.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Coach Heupel. Congratulations. Appreciate the Tennessee media joining us. You're welcome to stay on for the remainder of the program. Now, moving forward, I want to turn this over to Marty Smith. I think a lot of you recognize Marty from the Marty and McGee Show. He's also the former Sports Center Presents host. Marty Smith, please introduce Shane Beamer.
Always have a huge piece of that.
How about that? Is that better? We've only been doing Zooms for 2.5 years now, and I still haven't figured it out. I obviously dress for the occasion as well. I see Mike and Coach Spurrier are wearing their Sunday best, and I have on a carpentry hoodie. Nonetheless, it's such a pleasure for me to spend a few minutes with you guys just sharing about Shane. There's a lot of weight that comes with a surname that is a famous surname, certainly in the trade and the passion you choose to chase. And Shane played for his father at Virginia Tech, but he did not ride his father's coattails. He didn't just jump right in and carry on that particular tradition at Virginia Tech. He went and coached under Sylvester Croom. He went and coached under Kirby Smart and Lincoln Riley and Coach Spurrier and on and on. He learned from some of the most accomplished coaches of our lifetimes. And with that, he grew as not only a leader, but as a person. And that's what I think is the most amazing thing about Shane Beamer. He is a unifier. He is an individual that is so dogged in his determination and so open with his heart towards the people that he leads that you cannot help but pay attention. He's somebody who impacts lives in such a deep way because he leads with love. And that's a very unique trait. When he took over the job at South Carolina, I think a lot of people wondered how it would go. I know I got asked time and again, how's he going to do? Is he going to win any games in 2021? And I remember distinctly telling the official South Carolina radio show that I felt like he could win every single game he played except for Florida and Georgia. And then he beat Florida. Shows what I know. Tremendous season. in his first year in Columbia, South Carolina. And as Coach Spurrier can tell you, one of the most difficult challenges that any leader in college football can face is turning a culture. And the South Carolina football culture needed turning. And Shane did it not only in one season, but before that first season was complete. Ends the year by winning here in Charlotte over Mac Brown and the North Carolina Tar Heels in the Duke's Bowl. We all know about the aftermath of that. That was extremely unfortunate for him. But this award is not. It is not only welcome, it is most certainly deserved. So congratulations to Shane Beamer, someone that I've known since we were teenagers and someone of whom I could not possibly be prouder for the person that he is and the football coach and leader that he is. Congratulations, Shane Beamer.
Thanks, Marty. Appreciate that. Thanks to everyone for being on tonight as well. I really, really appreciate you guys taking time to be a part of this Zoom call. Thanks to Marty and Ryan for being a part of it as well, and those two great introductions. I know that every single Saturday morning, no matter how good or bad my week has been, I can turn on the Marty and McGee show on Saturday mornings and get a good laugh watching that and waiting for hillbilly headlines and everything else at the end of the show to get a great laugh out of it as well. Congrats to Josh and the great season they had and the impact that he obviously made on that program and those players in that program in year one as well. Thank you to the Football Writers Association for all you do, like Josh said, and covering this great sport, for Chris Doring and his partnership with Coach Spurrier. And thanks to Coach Spurrier. I wouldn't be sitting here as the head coach of South Carolina right now if it wasn't for him hiring me back in 2007 to come here and be an assistant coach on his staff. And for what he taught me about being a head coach and what his amazing wife, Jerry, as so many of you know, all she taught my wife, Emily, about being a head coach's wife. We're so grateful for that. You know, I was talking with Coach before we got started. I was in Tampa this morning and my wife and kids were out walking, and we walked by the hotel that we stayed at back in 2009, I guess, 2008, when we played in the Outback Bowl against Iowa. And at the time, we had just had our first child. She was 4 months old, and we were down there our second season at Carolina. And to think that here we are in 2021 to be back as the head coach, now going into the 2022 season and accepting this award is pretty cool and something that I'm very, very grateful and so blessed to be a part of as well. Obviously, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our administration. Fortunate for President Bob Caslin hiring me when he was here as our school president, and Ray Tanner, our athletic director, and Chance Miller, our deputy athletic director. So thankful for those guys and the support they give us and their resources that they provide. President Pastides, who I was with here during this past season, thankful for his support. Dorn Smith, our chairman of the board, and our entire administration as well. Appreciate their support, and certainly looking forward to working with our new president here at the University of South Carolina as well. Josh alluded to it, and he's exactly right. Any award that I receive is all because of the people around me, and I've got an unbelievable coaching staff and support staff that I get to work with every single day, and most importantly, the players that we have as well. Coach Spurrier mentioned it earlier that, you know, two things you can always control are attitude and effort. He said that, and he's exactly right. And our players certainly displayed that every single game this season. It wasn't always pretty. We certainly had some ugly ones, but one thing you can never question was the effort that those guys played with. And I'm so honored to be their coach and thankful for this award. Like I said, it was a great bowl win in Charlotte for sure, and an exciting way to finish our season down the stretch like we did, and excited for the future, just like Josh is as well. A lot of excitement around South Carolina football, and rightfully so. We play in the greatest, conference in America, so all these other teams around us are doing nothing but continuing to get better as well. So we know what a grind it is, but excited for the future. Thank you again for this opportunity, or for this award, and thanks again to all of you for all you do for college football.
Open it up for questions for Coach Beamer. If you raise your hand, we'll get to a few questions here. Mike, you with the first one.
Shane, we all go through challenges in life, regardless of what job we have. For you, I'm sure with coaching, some people just look at it, oh, he's Frank Beamer's son. He must have it all, sunshine and rainbows. But was there a moment that you went through when you were looking at potentially getting out of coaching, and what helped you stick it out to not just be able to stay with coaching, but to obviously get to this point now as being a head coach?
Yeah, I don't know. Once I got into it, if there was ever a moment where I felt like I wanted to get out of it, I did. And I think the hardest thing, Mike, was just understanding how hard it was to get into it. You know, I was just having this conversation today with a young man that I worked with at Oklahoma that's trying to just get a break and get into coaching. And he had interviewed for a job and didn't get it. And I told him, I mean, I spent 4 years as a graduate assistant, and this was back in the day when you didn't have analysts and quality control guys like you have now. It was 2 graduate assistants is all you had. And there were certainly times, and like Marty said at the beginning, I didn't want to just have my dad pick up the phone and call a school and help me get on as a graduate assistant. And I wanted to try and do it myself. And I can remember getting told a lot as a graduate assistant. I spent 3 awesome years there in Knoxville with Coach Fulmer, and some jobs that I wanted that I didn't get. But, you know, I'm thankful because it all led me to here, you know, today. So that's probably the thing that I look back at and most appreciative for, to be accepting an award tonight, but also never losing sight of how you know, hard it is to get into this profession, and also how blessed I am to be a part of it.
Ben Portnoy.
Shane, you've obviously talked about, you know, having a belief in this team from day one. And, you know, obviously our predictions were what they were. I know mine were definitely not on point. But as far as looking at this team and this year, I mean, at what point did you feel like you guys actually could go out and win games in year one? I mean, was this before you got hired? Was it something you saw in the first few days? I mean, what made you actually feel that belief and, you know, see that y'all might be able to make a run at a bowl game and 7 wins and everything that kind of came this year?
Yeah, good question. Probably, you know, early on, Ben, just being around the players and you know, realizing what kind of people they are and how hungry they were to be successful, and seeing their work ethic. And then once we got into spring practice and just seeing the personnel, you know, that we had, and you know, credit Coach Muschamp as well. I mean, he left some good players here and some quality young men as well that he and his staff recruited. And once we got out to spring practice and I saw what we had, I mean, certainly there are areas that we needed more depth and the things of that sort. But, you know, I said it during SEC Media Days back in July. I believe when you're good on the line of scrimmage, my dad used to always say this, when you're good on the line of scrimmage and, you know, you're good on special teams and you got a chance to be successful. And I knew that we were going to be pretty good up front on defense and felt like we had a chance to be good on special teams. And you know, I know the question was asked to Josh about the super seniors that he had, and same with us. And the thing with those guys is they played their best football in their last season. Jalen Foster, Jabari Ellis, Nick Muse, those guys that played at such a high level, Damani Staley. You know, I'm sure I'm forgetting one, but those guys really just did a great job, Parker White, of playing their best football their last year. And that was a key part of us being successful as well.
Jack Leo.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, you mentioned some of those some of those legendary coaches that you worked for over the years. What are there some things you maybe learned from the different coaches that you worked at the different stops you've been in up to this point in your career?
Yeah, no, I was very, very, very fortunate to be around multiple Hall of Famers. And, you know, I started out with George O'Leary at Georgia Tech and just seeing a different way of doing things. I've been around my dad at Virginia Tech for my entire life up to that point. So getting exposed to a different system and the organization and the detail that he had, going to Tennessee with Coach Fulmer and just, you know, learned so much from him about being a head coach, and then just seeing the way that he recruited and recruiting nationally and the effort that it took to do that. Going from there to Mississippi State with Sylvester Croom, and congratulations to him. I talked to him last week, getting inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. What an honor. And he was I'm so thankful for him. I mean, he hired me, Jack, when I was a 26-year-old, had been a GA for 4 years, and he hired me on staff in the SEC, his first job coaching as a head coach. And just, you know, a lot of coaches talk about they're in it for the players, but he truly cared about those kids. And that was a great lesson for me, learning that from him and seeing how he rebuilt that program in Starkville. And then from there, going to South Carolina with Coach Spurrier. And, you know, I could go on and on about all the things that I learned, you know, from him, to take South Carolina to where it was when he got here, to where it was when he left. And then just, I believe that teams take on the personality of their coach. And you can certainly say that the South Carolina teams that we had here took on his personality with the confidence they played with. And so many things I learned from Coach Spurrier. Got to go to Virginia Tech with my dad, and that was neat. I played for him. Now I got to coach with him and learning so much about, special teams and seeing how he treated people there. Was with Kirby at Georgia and a great experience. Just obviously the success he had speaks for itself, and seeing all of that, the recruiting part of it, the organization standpoint from it, everything that he did coming from Alabama and then implementing it in Athens, and then getting to go to Oklahoma with Lincoln and learning a different way of doing things, being at a program outside my blueprint, being in that part of the country where I'd never been before, and then learning the offensive piece from Lincoln. So there's so much more I could say. I don't want to bore you guys and ladies with all the details of all the different places, but those are the main things that jump to mind. But all those coaches are a big reason that I'm here right now in South Carolina, because I was able to take the good from all those guys and try and, take a little bit of that from and implement it in what we're doing here at Carolina.
I don't see any other hands, so I guess we'll send it back to you, Mike.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, Shane, on a great season and a great memory of seeing a coach get mayonnaise dumped all over him. That was quite a way to cap it off, but as always, you took it in stride and keep that positive outlook, and certainly South Carolina Gamecocks with a tremendous season. So I want to move on to the player portion. We had 3 finalists for Player of the Year. And I'll tell you, it was really tough. We talked with Coach Spurrier. We talked with a lot of writers from all over the country. We've got a board with a representative from each of the 10 FBS conferences, as well as independents. And I solicit nominations, and the candidates are discussed. And truthfully, we really had 3 worthy players, any of which could have won the Player of the Year. This was probably, I think, easily the most competitive year to become an FWAA Freshman All-American. This is the 21st year that we've done the FWAA All-American team. Ben Roethlisberger was my first freshman All-American quarterback, to put that into perspective back in, I guess it was 2001. So all 3 of these gentlemen are worthy. And I want to start out with our Most Inspirational Freshman Award. These 3 finalists for Player of the Year were also our 3 award winners. And Collin Oliver was a guy that jumped out as me. Honestly, when we think about Oklahoma State, we think about Mike Gundy, a little Spurrier-like with the offense maybe, but these Cowboys were different. This defense was outstanding. They led the nation with over 4 sacks per game. I mean, think about that. That's amazing. And Collin had 11.5 sacks, more than any FBS Power 5 freshman. I think only Coastal Carolina, Josiah Stewart, had 12.5, not at the Power 5 school, but Collin was remarkable. He was the unanimous Big 12 Freshman Player of the Year. Just an outstanding achievement. And to introduce Collin, I want to introduce Oklahoma State defensive line coach Joe Bob Clements. Coach Clements, the floor is yours.
It's my pleasure to introduce Collin. A little bit about Collin. By the time he ended his sophomore season of high school, I had a pretty good idea that he had a chance to be a very quality football player. By the time we signed him as a senior, and some of his recruiting got disrupted with COVID, et cetera, but by the time he signed with Oklahoma State as a senior, I was most amazed with just how quality of a young man he was. He was very mature for his age. He enrolled at Oklahoma State early, participated in our winter conditioning, in our spring ball when he should have been getting ready for his high school prom. And it was very easy and very apparent that this young man has some very special abilities. He's achieved a lot of accolades because of the stuff that he has done on the field. Like you mentioned, we led the nation in sacks. He led our team in sacks. So he was rushing with a lot of other quality good football players. A couple of those were game winners, special moments for Oklahoma State. Special moments for this season. But really, all of that is just a minor detail of the type of person he is. His character is going to take him a lot further. The game of football is going to take him a long ways. But his character and his work ethic and the type of young man he is going to take him a lot further. And he's going to have success. He's going to have continued success from Oklahoma State and beyond, playing the game of football. But in life, his character is going to take him a long ways. I'm just so proud to be a small part of it, and I'm going to enjoy watching him continue to succeed.
Collin, if you'd like to say a few words.
Appreciate that, coach, and all the kind words. I appreciate you guys for hosting me. This is kind of crazy. Like Coach said, like a year ago, I was in high school, and all this stuff is coming like right now, so it's pretty surreal. But I'm trying to take it in little by little. Being humble and just trying to do me out in the football field. Like I said, I appreciate Coach Clements, our other D-line coach, Coach Richmond, for getting me where I'm at. They're a real big part of that, and I appreciate and love both of them. Of course, our head coach, Coach Gundy, and the whole football staff here at Oklahoma State. I love them all, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So I appreciate the Football Writers Association of America as well for hosting this, like I said, and gifting me this award. So very appreciative.
All right, thanks, Collin. So we'll go ahead and take some questions. Remember to click that raise hand button if you have a question. We'll get started with Robert Allen.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with a familiar theme for both Coach and for Collin, if they can both take this. Collin's the third in line of edge rushers, defensive ends, linebackers that have come to Oklahoma State from Edmond Santa Fe. Talk a little bit, if you can, Joe Bob, about that lineage, and you guys keep going back to hit on it. And then Collin, how much of your success do you think you count to guys you followed, like Calvin Bundage and certainly Trace?
Well, I'll start with Edmond Santa Fe. One, they're a very high quality football program in the state of Oklahoma. Their coaching staff does a tremendous job. I've had a relationship with their defensive coordinator, Coach Rose, for some time. So when he calls and says, I have another one, well, you're going to go watch him. And that's kind of what he did. He called and said, hey, I have another one. Me and Coach Richmond watched his sophomore film. We're intrigued. Thought he was a really good football player. And then we went and watched him in spring ball that spring and realized he is a really good football player.
Collin, how much on your success do you think it helped following some guys that you followed pretty closely while they were at Oklahoma State? And Trace still is.
Well, yeah, obviously, those guys are a big deal, big reason why, I chose to come here, because what they did here and, how I feel like I fit in here. I felt like they fit in real well here, and I feel like I could do the same. So, it's all just, scheme and, what do you feel like you could do as a player? And I feel like here, I could do what they were doing essentially as players and, do a little bit of my own thing as well. And, the proof is in the pudding. We had a real successful year, and, I love the scheme that we ran as well. So,
Eli,
thank you both.
Hey, Collin, how you doing? We've talked to you a lot about this past season. Did you see it coming and all that? But as you look toward next year, you've got Brock and Brendan coming back. Maybe Trace is back on that other end. What excites you about the defensive line for next year?
Like you said, we're gonna have a lot of dudes that have experience coming back. Trace, Brock, and Bean, Collin Bean with Brendan, coming back. So I feel like we're gonna have a lot of success. That's what excites me the most, is that we have a lot of experience and depth coming back. So.
And for yourself, where do you feel like you need to add? Is it a conditioning thing? Is it technique? Where do you feel like you can add on in year two to even build on this?
I definitely feel like I need to add a lot in terms of my pass rush arsenal. Strength is obviously one of the main things I feel like I need to add. But conditioning and all that stuff comes with the winter program, and that's why we're here. We're gonna start, I think, tomorrow. So get in the weight room, get some strength on me, and get that conditioning up. So I feel like that stuff is most important.
Last follow up for me, Sean. You mentioned adding to that arsenal. What's the blueprint there? How do you go about doing that?
Just working, what I'm saying, while we're doing our winter program, I also go out and do my thing, with my buddies. We go out and work on pass rush moves with certain coaches, outside of O State. But, we're still working the stuff that we work here. And, just working on the stuff that, like I said, the stuff that we work here, doing that outside of here, and carrying it over. So the next year, it'll come easier and natural.
Appreciate it, Collin.
Allie Hart.
Hi, Colin. Congratulations on this recognition. I know that Coach Clements, one of the things that he talked about, of course, was how you were missing those late high school milestones to be an early enrollee at OSU. So I just wondered kind of what made you know that you really wanted to do that, and how do you think that experience impacted the success you had this freshman season?
Really, the main thing was COVID. It just made our senior season so weird. I'm not saying I didn't want to do that stuff, but I was thinking ahead. I was like, I'm not going to go to Division One in track. I have a lot of scholarships in football, so why not just go early, get a head start, and see what I can do from there. And it obviously contributed to tons of my success. And all these awards are nothing if I didn't come in the spring, in my opinion. But I'm glad that I came in the spring.
We have time for one more from Scott Wright.
Collin, I wonder if you could address what was the biggest challenge that you faced this year? We've talked a lot about what you did successfully, but what was the biggest challenge you faced over the course of your freshman season?
I'd say getting over those certain times in games where you wouldn't be doing stuff, like you wouldn't be contributing to the team. Or at least that's how I felt. I felt like at certain games, certain times of games, I wasn't doing things for the team. Just getting over those like mental bumps, what I'm saying, during games and in season as well. That was probably the biggest challenge for me.
Back to you, Mike.
Thank you. And congratulations, Colin. Congratulations to Oklahoma State on an outstanding season and certainly a devastating defense, over 4 sacks per game, and very impressive. Any conference, any way you slice it. So pretty impressive. Now, want to move on to Brock Bowers. Brock is our freshman of the year, and obviously a key figure on the Georgia Bulldogs, a first-team All-American, also chosen as the AP SEC Newcomer of the Year, set a Georgia record for touchdown catches in a season with 13, 56 catches for 882 yards. And Brock also, over 20% of the Georgia receptions were caught by Brock. And it seemed like even more than that against Alabama in the SEC championship game when he caught 10 catches for 139 yards. To introduce Brock Bowers, I'd like to turn it over now to Georgia assistant coach Scott Cochran. Coach, thank you for
Recording
being here.
in progress.
Yes, sir. It's just exciting for him to get this award. I think it's an honor. I mean, you talk about his accolades, but I think the biggest thing, being a former strength coach, you got to watch him come in and just every single day put that hard hat on and went to work. As a freshman, to have these numbers is really incredible. But what I'm fired up about is what he does off the field. Being here such a short time, and he's already done a lot of outreach stuff. He goes and reads to schools. He also goes and plays in the playground at schools, but he's making a huge impact, and it's awesome to have him. And he's a great representative for Georgia. So we're honored to have it.
Brock, if you'd like to say a few words.
Well, thanks, Coach, and thank you guys for having me on here. I just want to thank the Football Writers Association of America for this honor. It's really awesome just seeing my name up there with all the other dudes. It's just kind of still doesn't really feel real like this season. It was just all crazy. I came in really not expecting much, but just people around me helped push me, and just really couldn't be here without any of my teammates or coaches or the team at all. So it was just an awesome year. Can't wait to get back to work for next year. So thank you guys.
Okay, thank you, Brock. Thank you, Coach Cochran. This is Leland Barrow, the SID of University of Georgia. At this time, I'd like to open up some questions. So please, if you have a question, please put up your hand on the Zoom and we'll get you going. First, let's start with Anthony Dasher. Dash.
Good to see you. Talk to you for the first time this year. I just want to ask you this first of all. I mean, Coach, Smart, spent most of the time leading up to the Orange Bowl and the CFP championship, answering questions about you, whether or not he was surprised you were able to do what you did, and when he thought you were able to, accomplish what you have. So I want to ask you, when did you kind of have an idea that, hey, I may be able to contribute pretty quickly for this ball team?
Shoot, I wasn't totally sure. The first couple games in, I was kind of catching a few balls and just kind of doing my thing. And then as the season went on, I'm like, shoot, I'm kind of I'm kind of doing pretty well, and I just kind of it just never kind of clicked with me until kind of the end of the year. I mean, it still really hasn't clicked with me. I just feel like I'm just out there kind of playing, and just I wasn't really thinking about it really.
All right, Jake Roos, you want to get going with the second question?
Yeah, Brock, I just wanted to talk to you about the layoff you had. Not many guys, skip an entire year of football coming into college football. I guess how hard was it for you to kind of reacclimate, get your feet back under you? You made it look pretty easy during the season, but what was that transition like?
Yeah, I mean, coming in early definitely helped. I had no clue what to expect coming in because I didn't play football in over a year, and just playing in spring ball, just getting my butt beat around a little bit by some of the dudes out there. It just kind of got me just back going again, the football mindset. And just that's what really just helped me get going again, was being here for spring ball. And yeah, it was kind of hard at first putting those pads back on. And I mean, but once got going, I felt comfortable again. So yeah.
Okay, Jake Rowe, do you have a question?
Yeah, Brock, it seemed like every time we ask about you, the things that were said were, he only knows one speed. He's kind of wired different. Where does that come from for you? Has it always been that way? Was it a decision you made at some point? Why is that max effort, empty the tank type thing just a part of what you do?
I'm honestly not totally sure, like where that came from, or I just remember this one time I was playing basketball. Like it was one of those AAU tournaments when I was probably in 6th grade, just playing basketball. And I got just so irritated because I turned the ball over, and I was just sprinting back and forth up and down the court. And I got so winded that I dang near had an asthma attack, and I don't even have asthma. So I don't really know where it came from, but I feel like it's always been just inside of me. I don't know what it is really.
All right, Vance.
Brock, I imagine you guys have had some fun being back in Athens. Talk a little bit about what that has been like, winning the national championship, and what clearly, even though you were an outsider, what's your interpretation of the Bulldog Nation after all this?
Dude, it was awesome. Just seeing all those videos of Athens, just everyone out in the streets, and just everyone just loving it here. In Georgia, everyone just seems like just so proud and supportive of all of us. Just like the whole team, just going around town, going around school, because school started a little bit ago. Just people just saying congrats and just still so excited about it. It's just awesome to see.
Mark Weiser, do you have a question?
Yeah, thanks. Hey, Brock, obviously, we just heard all the accomplishments that you had as a freshman. I'm curious kind of, what do you do for an encore now that you've kind of set the bar for yourself after one season, putting up those kind of numbers and winning a national championship?
Shoot, I don't know. It's just kind of back to work from here until the season. Just try to get the team better and try to just keep the winning going and just run it back again.
Jake Rowe, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, Brock, I can't help but ask, obviously we're in the transfer portal age of college, football, and you're from all the way across the country. You came all the way to Athens. What's it been like for you? I mean, how happy are you at the University? I know you guys have had a lot of success, but that's not always kind of an indication of how, satisfied somebody is. What has it been like your move to Athens, and how has it been now that you've been here for a full year?
Man, it's been awesome. I love Athens. Just love the people around football and just all the people I'm surrounded by. Just the whole community is just awesome here. Just getting to know more and more people, just being able to get to do what I want to do, just be able to go and hunt and fish if I want to, or just hang out. It's just, I just don't think I want to be anywhere else but here.
Does anybody else have a follow-up for Brock Bowers? We have a couple more minutes, I believe. Any follow-ups for Brock Bowers? Anything for Coach Cochran?
I've got a question. Leland, for Brock. Jake mentioned a moment ago traveling across the country. How does a guy from California end up at the University of Georgia? What appealed to you, and how did you end up at Georgia of all the schools?
I mean, when I was kind of looking at my options, I thought about staying on the West Coast for a little bit, but I just kind of it was either like going to like just shoot, what am I trying to say? All like those schools over there are kind of in like bigger cities, and I didn't really want that that kind of vibe really. So just had to leave the West, and Georgia just seemed like the right spot, and they recruited me hard, and just all the people here just seemed awesome, which they are. So that's pretty much the biggest reason.
I guess I just follow up, Brock, and I'd ask you just about the challenges of playing tight end. I know in high school you played several positions. How tough was it to pick up this position in Monken's offense? Because it looks like you do more than just play tight end to us.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't too hard for me. During the spring, I struggled a lot, like I said, with the playbook and everything. But after that, I got it pretty. It was clicking pretty good with me. I mean, yeah, I mean, I was able to pick up on patterns pretty easily and just everything like that. So, yeah.
Hey, Leland,
Yeah.
it's Shane. My 8-year-old son was in here listening to Brock, and he said, "Wait a minute, he's just a freshman." And I said, "Yeah, but he's just a freshman." He's like, "Man, I thought he was a senior and gone." And he walked out of the room disappointed. So can we confirm that he is just a freshman, and we've got at least 2 more years of having to compete against him?
He is just a freshman, and I want him to come back in the room, and I want him to be able to ask a question right now.
I think he's done, man. He tapped out for the night. But in all seriousness, love watching you play. You're a hell of a football player.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Vance Levy, did you have another one?
Well, sure, Brock. I was just going to get you to talk a little bit about your tight end group and what they meant. And, you said you got banged around a little bit. I suspect that was a lot of those big defensive guys. But were those older tight ends tough on you early, or good to you, or a little bit of everything?
No, they were awesome. I think we have one of the best position groups like in the country, really. Just a good mix with just Brett, Godey, John Fitzpatrick, and Darnell. Just all of them just great dudes, like on and off the field, and just everyone's just so supportive in that room. It's just awesome. I think it's one of the best in the country, to be honest. Just the culture we built in that room.
Okay, Mike, I'm going to pitch it back to you unless anybody has any more questions.
Good. I appreciate it, Leland. Coach Spurrier, I hear Coach Spurrier over there. Coach, the Gators had a lot of good receivers. I didn't know if you had a chance to watch much of Brock Bowers. Did you have any thoughts on our freshman of the year?
Yeah, I want to, first of all, congratulate Brock as well as Collin on the years that they had, but also what their teams did. I think Oklahoma State may have had maybe their best season ever. I know one of the best. And, of course, Georgia it's got 3 national championships now, and to go, 13-1, I think was their final record. So what a year they had. And of course, their individual play was outstanding also. And CJ Stroud, or we'll have him on tonight, or is he available? Do you know? CJ Stroud, the Ohio State quarterback. Oh, so he's not going to make it. Okay. But the performance he had in the Rose Bowl was spectacular, breaking all the records. And Ohio State looks like they're going to have a big year next year. But again, I want to congratulate Shane and Josh. Obviously, they were co-winners of this award that I feel honored to have my name on. And I don't mind telling you, I hope Billy Napier wins this award next year. He's the first-year coach at Florida. You guys are ineligible from now on, unless you go somewhere else, I guess. But hopefully the Gators will have a big year next year, and Billy Napier will certainly have a chance to earn this award next year.
I was remiss in not mentioning that Coach Heupel actually had won this award before at Central Florida. It was our first 2-time winner. Of course, Shane Beamer, a first-time head coach. So there was some debate from Coach Beamer. Maybe we should have classified. It was kind of fun. I'll say that the competition in the SEC East is alive and well, and it's certainly been well represented here tonight. I did want to mention the performance that Coach Spurrier was talking about for CJ Stroud. It's a tough time with people traveling. As we know, there's a lot of delays, and unfortunately the Ohio State quarterback was caught up in that. But Stroud actually had 2 breakout performances, something that's unprecedented, and I don't know if we'll ever do it again. But, I mean, the guy was 32 of 35 for 432 yards and 6 touchdowns in a 56-7 win over a top 10 Michigan State team. And that was certainly remarkable. And then in the Rose Bowls, Coach Spurrier was talking about 37 of 46 for 573 yards and 6 more touchdowns with just 1 interception in that 48-45 shootout, one of the most exciting bowl games of the season. Also set a record for the Ohio State in quarterback rating this year. So a tremendous season by CJ Stroud. Unfortunately, couldn't be here tonight, but certainly we want to recognize his tremendous season. And we want to recognize once again, everyone for coming in here. We appreciate Coach Spurrier and his association with the Football Writers Association of America. I think everyone would agree. Coach, a big part of our SEC history, and we certainly enjoy his commentary. He never fails to entertain and inform. And Shane Beamer taking over as, I guess the nicest guy in college football for now. Coach, hope you can keep that up, Shane. I know the media there in South Carolina loves you. And Josh Heupel for infuriating any sports writer who tries to keep play-by-play on a notepad, because we can't keep up with the play-by-play with it. So thank goodness for the play-by-play sheets that they issue after the game. Tennessee, a very exciting product. And then Brock Bowers. What Brock did this year was truly remarkable. I can say I've never seen I don't know if I've seen any tight end make the impact that Brock did on a championship team. He was truly the go-to guy. I would argue he was the most valuable player on the Georgia offense. He was certainly the most consistent performer. And I don't think I've heard Kirby Smart be too critical of him. And I don't know if I can say that about too many skill position players either. So congratulations, Brock, for having a great year. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Appreciate your participation on this Zoom call. If you have any feedback, please email me, reach out to me, any ways we can improve it. And Coach Spurrier, we're looking forward to February 21st down there in Gainesville, where we'll have an opportunity to recognize these first-year co-head coaches of the Spurrier Award. So thank you again, everyone, and have a wonderful night.
All right. See you guys.
Got it.